Hi, everyone. Welcome to our coach meetup. I'm going to share my slides quickly. This is your ISTE and ASCD community leader coach meetup. This is our for coaches and by coaches, basically group. We started this as ISTE and ASCD community leaders as coaches, pedagogical, tech coaches, all types. We wanted a place where someone in an isolated role like that could meet with other people. So you'll see there's lots of names on the slide. There are a lot of people involved in this group. My name is Kayla, and I try to get us started as we go through. But tonight, you are super lucky. People, our host for tonight is Stephanie Howell, and she's going to be talking all about community coaching that clicks. So I'm going to stop sharing. And I will turn it over to Stephanie Howell, and I will see you again at the end. Thanks so much for joining.
Yeah, hi everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. Let me know in the chat how you're doing. Also, with that, I want to know how many teachers do you support as a coach? Okay, or how many buildings if you're like, oh, I don't know how many teachers, but I know exactly how many buildings I have. Because we're going to kind of dive into coaching that clicks. We're going to really explore how AI can support with transforming PD with kind of staff spaces that we can use to support when it comes to personalized learning. And that comes with our teachers too. Yeah, I see in the chat 180 staff, right? Oh, it's rainy weather in Georgia. Oh, that's not fun. It's like a beautiful fall day here in Ohio. You can't get any better. 3 buildings. Okay, all pre-K. Oh, Karen. K-12, 80 teachers. Yep. 16 schools. Oh my gosh, K-12. Yeah. Right? And so we all have these different amounts of numbers that we support. Some of us, we have, maybe 25 teachers. Other of us, we're supporting over 80, 100, maybe multiple buildings. And I don't know about you, but there were times where I really wanted to clone myself. Does anyone really want to clone yourself? Maybe not. Maybe you're like crazy and not like me, but I wanted to clone myself. So I worked in a district. First year, I had 3 middle schools, 2 grade levels. It was amazing. It was probably around 100 teachers. Okay. So again, it was a lot of teachers, but I was only in 3 buildings. So that was lovely to me. The second year I started coaching, they added 2 more buildings. I was at 5. So then I was over like 200 staff members that I was supporting. The following year, I was then K to 6, right? And so then from 3 buildings to 5 buildings to I had 10 buildings and all of these relationships that I had to build. And I just felt like I wasn't able to support teachers like I wanted to when we had that coaching cycle. So for me, I use a lot of different coaching cycles. I take pieces from a lot of them, but the main one that I do use is the Google coaching cycle. And so if you're not familiar with it, what that looks like is you first start off with a problem. Well, if you have over 200, 300 teachers, they all have different problems, right? They all don't have the same problem. And I wanted to personalize the professional learning that I was giving, that I was supporting for my staff, but it was just unattainable. It was so difficult to support every single teacher with what they needed. Because after in that coaching program, when you start with the problem, well, then you got to research. You got to have tools. You got to know what to implement, what those teachers need in order to support that problem. And then after that, it came to implementation and trying to support every single teacher in every single classroom with what they needed. And then that reflection piece as well. And so I felt like, I wanted to do such a better job for my teachers because they were pouring into their students and I wanted them to personalize the learning for their students. So I wanted to model that too. And so today we're going to be walking through kind of this question. What if I could reach every single teacher every single day, right? What if I could leave my school district every single day wondering if I reached every single teacher? Because I couldn't be everywhere at once. And so again, I wish I could have cloned myself. I wish I really could have focused in on how I could support different teachers. And so, again, we're going to kind of dive into different professional learning, but I want you to think about 2 different use cases here. We've got our new teacher. But then we also have our veteran teacher. Do they need the same thing? Do these two teachers need the exact same thing, right? Think about that. Feel free to answer in the chat. They might, but they usually don't, right? Our new teachers, yeah, it depends on the content, right? But typically our new teachers are teachers that maybe need support with kind of the culture. What is the culture of our school district? They might need to know some knowledge of the contract. They might need to know what programs are available to them in their district. But then we've got our veteran teacher, and they might want to start focusing more on maybe how do I use technology in powerful ways in my classroom, where maybe a new teacher needs to focus on those standard operating procedures, what I need to do in order to support my students, right? And maybe our veteran teachers, they feel more comfortable with classroom management. So I kind of came down, I was like, oh my gosh, everybody needs a little bit of different things when it comes to supporting teachers. And so when it comes to that, we're really able to use AI to kind of dive in and support different teachers. And so, for example, what we're going to kind of build today, so we're going to do like a make and take, is we can see here, I've got this new teacher space, but then over here, I've got this veteran teacher space. I can send these links out to those teachers that need these resources, and those teachers are going to get different professional development to support what they need and what they're working on. And so, for an example, if I am working with an inclusive classroom teacher and they're working through UDL and differentiating their resources, this teacher is going to have a different experience than the teacher that is kind of going through new teacher success, where they're learning about the setup essentials. Maybe we're going through Ron Clark's essentials. Maybe we're looking at routines, school culture. Maybe they're brainstorming what their classroom is going to envision based on what they learned about in this space. And so every single teacher is able to go through those pain points from that Google coaching cycle, reflect on, okay, what pain points do I have as an educator? Based on those pain points, they get a space where they're learning about different resources. So I'm able to kind of take two of my problems, right? Two of those pieces of the coaching cycle. And then I can use mission control data and I'm able to dive right in to what my teachers might need. And so, for example, maybe my teachers need me to come in and co-teach. Maybe they need a resource creation. Maybe they need help or a brainstormer. I'm able to see all of this different data that's coming in, and I'm able to support them right in the real moment with what they need in that moment to really support them in kind of that everyday of what's next. And then you could also use a space to kind of check to see how your teachers are doing as well. So again, some other examples of this might be asynchronous tracks by topic, where teachers might say, I need help with classroom management. Well, I can share maybe this forced choice survey space where they're able to upload their students' information. We can interpret the results, and then we're able to apply what's going to motivate those students, right? I can upload another one that would maybe use the ARCS model that really focuses on motivation for our teachers, where it focuses on thinking through how do I create lessons that focus on the attention? How do I build lessons that focuses on relevance? How do I build confidence? And how do I build that satisfaction? So what I'm able to do is I'm able to create these spaces that focus on high level learning and strategies that are made for best practices. And then my teachers are able to come in, reflect with Dot as they're thinking through, okay, where in my classroom am I struggling with? They're coming up with that problem. They're reflecting, they're using that metacognition to really think through. After they think, then they're going to get maybe here 2 to 3 different strategies that they could implement. They get to pick one or two of those that they want to dive in deeper to build their plan. After they build their plan, I have a nice resource where I'm able to see mission control. And then I can dive in to say, okay, I'm ready to support you with this. I'm ready to help you with that. I'm ready to help you with whatever the topic is. I can dive in and start to co-teach. I can begin to provide resources or activities that are really going to help that teacher. Okay. And then this example is onboarding in that new teacher support. So again, maybe there's a new teacher where they're getting like a welcome, they're going through, they're kind of getting understanding of our setup of Google Classroom, the tools that we have in our district, what support is reasonable, what's needed for them. There's also that just-in-time support. So maybe a teacher needs some type of coaching resource. I can create a folder that is just of my resources for my teachers, and I can say, hey, why don't you try this activity? Or why don't you go through, and maybe they need to know more about formative assessment, or maybe they need to know more about building a inclusive classroom or building their standard operating procedures. You can already have spaces ready to go. So then when they come for asking, and maybe you're busy, you can send them that space so they can kind of begin to develop ideas. And then when they come to you for that meeting, you're ready to brainstorm and chat about what they kind of took away from that space. I'm going to pause real quick. Are there any questions or ideas floating in your head of spaces that you could create for your teachers to kind of create this personalized learning, asynchronous space that can really help teachers kind of dive into professional learning in a whole new way that's really reflective? Yeah, personalization is key, right? I did this today with a group of teachers. We were working through executive functioning skills. And there's like 12 different skills. And if I'm just like, okay, here is, an executive functioning skill database. So this is what I used to share. And I would love to know your thoughts when it comes to this resource that I'm going to share. Because I am an overshare. I don't know if anybody else on this call is an overshare, but I am for sure the overshare. So here I am. I'm like, okay, here's all of these executive functioning skills that students need, right? And so they are like, oh my gosh, there's so many skills because there's 12 of them. And then I say, okay, go look in this resource for different skills. How do you think those teachers are feeling right now? Right? Overwhelmed. But my heart's happy. I'm like, oh my God, it's so pretty, right? But no, these teachers are overwhelmed. And so what we did today, because of AI, I was able to take this resource that I had and upload it into a school AI space. And with that space, I was able to go in. Let's go ahead and find that space right here, I believe. And I was able to share this with the teachers. And once I shared this with the teachers, they were able to come in. That's the wrong one. That's the student one. Let me go back real quick. They were able to come in and they were able to list out what problem they were having. So rather than diving into that giant resource that I had, they were able to pause and think through, what is it that I need help with? What is it that I need a little bit more support with? What is it that I want to dive into? And so as those teachers were kind of going into this space, they're all kind of getting their own little adventure as they're reviewing executive functioning skills. So if I come in here, we could, one, look through this entire resource and feel very overwhelmed together. Or they could start in a space where they come in and they're like, okay, I want to focus on lazy. That's the issue I'm seeing in my classroom. That's the problem that I'm having. And then from there, I can be like, oh, I don't know, right? And then you can see here that, oh, would you like 3 to 5 different practical strategies? Yes, please. And then it's going to provide those strategies based on the resources. So based on like this resource, a couple other resources that I've added into that space. And look, they're getting all of these resources to support with a student that might be lazy, right? Or a student based on our executive functioning skill, when it comes to lazy, they are actually working towards sustained attention and maybe goal setting. So the AI knows this based on this chart right here, that kind of we use these descriptors that these executive functioning skills align with those. And so, again, a teacher could come in and look at all of those resources and feel very overwhelmed, or they could come in here, share their problem, and then they're going to get research backed strategies that I have added in here. And I can kind of go in here and I can see, start at class with a low stakes, quick task. Okay, warm up bell ringer. Oh, I like this idea. Tell me more, right? And I can ask it to tell me more. Another teacher might choose the visual timers, or another teacher might dive into the choice within boundaries. And as they're going in, they're kind of seeing based on how you set it up. But I can see here, I could set it up with like, why does it work? So providing the why behind why it might work. How do I keep it simple, right? Teachers need to know, how do I keep it simple? How do I make this quick, easy to use? How do I make it relevant for my students? How do I display it clearly? How do I celebrate my students when they do it? And so, based on kind of this space, I can then use this mission control right here. And I can see, okay, maybe I'm going to meet with Stephanie. I can go into her chat and I can say, oh, she's got a student that's lazy. Okay, yes, please. What strategy does she want to use? Oh, Stephanie wants to learn more about warm-ups and bell ringers. I'm going to go to her and I'm going to take math reps from Edu Protocols and see if that might be something that she can use in her classroom. So then I'm using that data as that teacher is coming in, and I'm able to really support them with what they need in that moment. Okay. Don't see any questions in the chat. Don't think. Let me pause though. Okay. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create. And we're going to do the I do, and then you're going to kind of do it, but I'm going to be here. So it's like a we do. So we're going to kind of do it together, because what I would love for us to do is to create some spaces that we have created that we're willing to kind of make and take and share. Okay. So for example, if you are interested in this executive functioning space for teachers, I am going to just copy this. And this is kind of what we're going to do. I'm going to add my name here. I'm going to add the title of this space. And then what we're going to do is we're going to share this URL. Okay. So that way, if you need an executive behavior coach to support your teachers, you'll have that resource ready to go, already created. Or if you need ideas, you can see how all of those different ideas. So what we're going to do is, first, I'm here on the School AI page. Now there's two different platforms. There's a 2.0, and then there's also just the platform here. A lot of the resources from the beta are going to be coming into the platform. So we're just going to stay right here in 1.0 today. And if you go into tools and assistance, there are resources for educators. So a lot of these are those productivity tools. But what we want to do is we want to create a space. So these are called spaces where they're able to go in. So our teachers are able to go in and experience a space. So does anybody want to try a space? I can go ahead and launch this one right here, this executive functioning one. That way you can get a feel for what it might feel like as a student. Okay, so I want you to kind of just feel like what it might feel like for a teacher or for a student in our executive functioning space. I want you to pick one of these words of a student or a teacher or an adult that maybe is bothering you. Are they lazy, stubborn? I'm going to use my own son who's stubborn. Got a kindergartner. He is so stubborn. We had issues going to school this year. We finally going to class. It took him an hour, and he was in the principal's office like for 3 weeks. I don't know why. So again, I'm going to come in, go ahead and join that space. And I'm going to be quiet for just a few moments. And I just want you to kind of reflect for a moment, just so you can get a feel for what this might feel like as a teacher completing this. I'm going to go ahead and pause us real quick. I know a lot of us are still at step number 3, which is totally fine. But how did that feel? Did you like it? Did you not enjoy it? What were your initial thoughts? For me, I wanted to kind of just share what mine said, just so you could see how different, compare it to yours. So again, choose your own adventure. I picked stubborn, but it looks like some of you, let's see here on our mission control data, some of us were choosing, other areas compared to stubborn. So it looks like, disruptive behavior. We said, AP said stubborn too. So again, we were able to kind of see how everybody kind of changed their own ways. When I said stubborn, I had to explain what was going on, right? My son, he won't go to class for an hour. And I love it. It makes me feel reassured, right? It often singles a gap in cognitive flexibility, the ability to shift thinking, adapt to change, and move between task or exceptions, right? And it was like, it's okay. This is normal, right? Great news. This is a skill that you can work on. And sometimes teachers are like, oh my God, he's stubborn. He's always going to be that way. But then it matches it up with this skill that I actually can work on. And I love the activities that it shared with me. One of them was offer limited choices. What was happening is with my own son in kindergarten, they were asking him, do you want to go to school? What was his answer? No, I don't want to go to school. And so I actually gave the school this option of limited choices. I said he needs to either be asked, do you want to walk or skip to school? He needs that forced choice, right? And what I love about this is it kind of says, what does it do? And here's an example. So we can kind of see here that we're able to create these different spaces that can really support us when we need a resource that, again, is very differentiated and very, very kind of out there kind of space too. Like, oh, what do I do? Right? Oh, here's some ideas. Okay, so let's go ahead and look behind the curtains of how this was created. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kind of go back in real quick. And I just want to show you how this space was created. So you can see here, I came in and I kind of said, like, you're an AI. So I gave it a role. You're a coach. You're helping teachers better understand how to support students. Your tone is this way. So again, you're going to give it like a role. What role do you want it to play? Then I provide the task, right? Okay, I want the teacher to reframe the student's behavior. So they're going to come in with like words that are pretty harsh, right? Lazy, stubborn. And I want you to take those words and align them up with an executive functioning. So I'm giving it the task. Once we identify that task, then we're going to go into some research-based strategies. Also right here, we're going in and we're going to think through kind of, here are those resources, right? There's all the lists that I have, and I want you to match it. And so then I went ahead and matched it to my list. And then I kind of went through and gave those directions of what I wanted to do. There's the resource I was able to attach that I wanted it to use. So you're able to use your district, your created instructional playbooks, resources to create these spaces. Okay, so what I typically do when I write these, because being a prompt engineer is not always easy, right? So if you go into Assistance, there's a tool right here. It's called Space Designer. I start in Space Designer. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and chat. It's just like chatting with kind of a space where I can think through a problem. Okay, so I'm able to come in here and I'm able to kind of problem solve what type of professional learning do I want to create for my teachers. So again, I can come in here and I'm able to kind of think through what is it that I want to create. So I can come in here and I'm going to go ahead and share. I want to create a space that supports teachers with the resources in Project Zero. Okay, so one of my favorite websites that have really great resources is called Project Zero. It's thinking routines. And in Project Zero, if you go over to resources, right here where it says thinking routines toolbox, again, this is overwhelming, right? There are probably over 50 resources right here. You click on a resource and then it takes you right into the resource link with a PDF. Okay, so I want to take this website and all of these amazing resources that they have, but I want to add it into a space. So a teacher can come in, maybe they share their standard, they share their lesson plan, and it's going to suggest a Project Zero resource to help them with visible thinking. So I'm going to say, I want to create a space that supports teachers with the resources in Project Zero and focusing on the toolbox. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit send. And what's going to happen is I'm going to get some additional questions. Okay, with these additional questions, what grade level and subjects are you targeting in this space? So I'm maybe a K-12 educators, right? You could say, if you're a preschool, I think we had someone in preschool. I'm a preschool coach. I am this, I am that. You can really focus in on a certain level if you want to. Also, if you are a certain subject level, you could also do a certain subject level. Okay. Do you have a certain routine? So, certain thinking routine or tool from Project Zero Toolbox you would like to focus on? Or should this space provide general support for all routines? It's going to provide for all routines, okay? Because I want the teachers to come in, share what they're teaching, and then I want it to pick the routine that's going to fit best. Would you like suggestions for how this space could work? Or do you have an idea in mind, right? So I have an idea, right? I want my teachers to share their lesson plan and standard. And once they do that, they are given 2 to 3 routines they could use. Now, if you know your teachers get overwhelmed, you could just say, give them a routine, right? You're kind of able to do whatever you need to be able to share in here for your teachers to create. Okay, let's define AI's role in this space. What role should the AI take? Oh, I for sure want it to be a coach, right? I want to clone myself. But again, you could change it to a curriculum designer. You could do a thinking routine expert. The role's really fun if you're working with like younger students. They can actually be dinosaurs or Abraham Lincoln if you wanted it to be, right? So example, the AI acts as a thinking routines expert. I do want it to recommend routines based on the lesson plan and standards the teacher provides. All right, we're going to go ahead and enter that. Now we're kind of going through and just kind of seeing, okay, here's the role. We've got our coach recommending those routines. What tasks do we want the AI coach to help teachers with? So we want them to guide teachers to select. Yep, I love what the AI suggested. You could say, no, I actually wanted to do this. You could say, actually, give me a couple more ideas of how this could be kind of worked out. But as we're working, you can see we're going through the role, we're going through the task, and now we're going through our detailed instructions. Okay, so now we're thinking through what process should happen. So we're going to kind of see here, right? I want the AI to first ask. Yep, I want exactly this. I want it to ask for a lesson plan and the standards, and then I want it to analyze, suggest routines, and explain how it's implemented, right? What would you like the AI to do? Do I want it to ask any clarified questions if they need to? Yes, I want it to be reflective. So if they don't answer very well, yes, ask more questions if they need it, right? Explain why each routine was chosen. Yes, I want them to know why that routine was chosen. Provide tips and examples. Yes. So again, you can decide, maybe you don't want those tips and examples. Maybe you do, but you're building out your space to create exactly what you want or what your teachers are going to need for this activity. So now we can see that we have requirements. So right here are these guidelines that we're putting in place for our teachers. So we can see here, minimum info the teacher must provide is the lesson summary, lesson objectives, grade level, and standard. So I could say, actually, I don't need them to put a lesson summary. They just need to put the goals. You can kind of decide that. I'm going to have them keep all of those things. I can also come over here and change this to maybe instead of 2, I could say it just gives 1 routine. It gives 4 routines. You can change the certain number. Should the AI avoid repeating routines if a teacher uses the spaces multiple times? Actually, I don't want this because I want them to be able to rinse and repeat that routine if it's actually used in their classroom. So I actually don't want this. I want it to repeat if needed. But again, you might say, no, actually, I want them to get out of their comfort zone and try new activities, try new things. Any other requirements? I could say whatever else I needed to say. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And now it's just kind of summarizing what we kind of shared. And now you can see here, would you like me to draft this prompt? Yes, draft it for me. And somebody asked, do I typically write my space descriptions in a separate doc? Ease of editing. Yes. So typically I will take what this says. So again, we're using the Assistant Space Designer. And I'm going to copy this space. And then I love to, because maybe I work with another coach. Maybe I work with a principal that's working through this too. I like to come in here and kind of see everything. It also gives me more room, because when I go back into my school AI, it's like a tiny box. And I don't know about you guys, but there are times where I just like want to see it kind of laid out. If I wanted to come in here and change something or remake the space and change just a certain part, you can, or change the guidelines, you could do that. So yeah, there are times where I'll bring it into a document just so it's larger, and then I can kind of really see it laid out for me. So yeah, there are times where I do that, because again, like sometimes it's just super small, the space. Okay, so now that we got our prompt, again, we were in Assistants, we were using the Space Designer. I copied it. I'm going to go over to my spaces and I'm going to hit create. From here, I'm going to click on this black create and I paste my prompt right here. I'm going to name it. So this is, what should we name it? Like Coach, Project Zero Coach, maybe. I can add standards if I wanted to. I can also attach files. So I could come in here and attach resources and files. There's also a way to add the link. So here was Project Zero. I'm going to copy this URL and I can paste it right here, and I can import this resource right into my space. So this is where you're able to customize your spaces for your teachers. This is where you're able to customize the documents, the resources, the PDFs, the strategies that you have created, the playbooks. You can add those right into here. If I wanted to, I could also attach any of these PDFs if I wanted to from this website. But that is where you're able to customize your own resources to the space. From here, I'm going to generate all the fields. I could type all of them in, but let's have AI do that for us. While it's generating, I can come over here and click Start Preview. And we're going to just be able to test out this space. Okay, perfect. It's asking exactly what I wanted. My summary of my lesson objectives, my grade levels, the standards I'm targeting. The teacher can come in here, share all of those resources right into this space. I'm going to go ahead and save and launch it. And then they're able to really think through, what is it that I'm teaching, right? I need to add a thinking routine into my space. And I need to really think through, what is it that I want to do? So I'm going to share this activity. There could be errors, but I'm going to share it. I'm going to be brave. And once we share it, if you want to go to that link and enter in maybe a subject or an activity that your teachers are going to be teaching. So we're going to act like a teacher. You can kind of get a feel. I entered in that I am teaching 5th grade. So my students are going to be able to identify and explain the main idea and supporting details. And I gave a brief kind of overview of what my lesson is going to look like. And here are the thinking routines. I've got 3 main side hidden: claim, support, question, or headlines. And so then I could pick the one that I want to do. And again, there's the why, the tips, and then it kind of will walk through. If I had more questions, I can ask them. If I need help creating directions, I can use that. But this could be a great way to support my teachers when they're trying to explore those Project Zero resources. Okay, Feel free to ask questions in the chat. I'm going to go back in the chat because I got really passionate and I just started going. So yeah, I love spaces. Yeah, awesome, Karen. But I struggle with building the space. Okay, so did that help walking through my thinking process out loud, Karen? Perfect. I see the heart. Sorry, I'm like just kind of talking out loud. That's seriously how I think when I'm creating these spaces. I'm like talking back and forth. Highly recommend using the space designer because it gives you those options when you're creating the space. Okay, so again, use that space designer when you're creating these spaces so you get those high quality spaces. Also, I didn't add any resources just because Project Zero is really well known, but you can attach files too while you're building out your space. Okay, let's see here. So we talked about the Google document. Yes, the space designer chat is game changer. Awesome. Okay, so what I would love for you guys to do is I'm going to share this this space on our handy dandy document right here. I'm going to type my name, and we call this the Project Zero Coach. I want to see what you'll create. So I want to get you in and playing and exploring. So I'm going to share that right here. And I would love for you to go into Assistants, Space Designer, and think of a problem that you want to try. It could be a long space like my executive functioning space. It could be a short space that you're like, I just want to do a pulse check. I just want to see how every single teacher is in my school district. Or maybe you have a resource that you want to attach and you want to build a space based on that curriculum resource that your teachers are struggling with. I loved what Caroline said in the chat. When she meets with their teachers, she asks if they can turn on the microphone. So yeah, there is a microphone right here. And I love that because I often just like to vent to the AI and I'm like, this happened, this happened, this happened. And then it will give me great ideas on how to solve my problem. So love that idea, Caroline. I'm going to steal that because I do it for myself, but I've never thought to do it in a meeting. Okay, so I'm going to set a quick timer. I think we're done at 45. Is that right, Kayla? Yes. Okay. So I'm going to set a quick timer. I'm also going to share my prompt with you on that spreadsheet. So if you want to see my prompt laid out, I'll add a column for prompt. But I want you to add a space, and I'm going to be creating, but I'm going to be silent. And if you have questions, please ask in the chat, but I'm going to create another space for our make and take. Okay, so I'm going to give us about, we'll do 5 minutes. Less than 10 seconds left. I feel like I should do like the 10, 9. I'm just kidding. Not gonna stress you out. Okay, awesome. So again, once you get your space created, would love for you to add it here. Hopefully I gave the right sharing. Yes, I gave editor. If you're watching the recording, we would love to see your spaces as well. And try them out too. I always suggest trying them out before you just send them off to teachers. So this was one that I created within our 5 minutes, where I was able to come in and create a reading coach. So the teacher comes in, they share their grade level, they share their focus, so comprehension, the challenges as my student has trouble remembering what they read. Then it gave me a couple different ideas. I could use stop and jot notes. Oh, yeah, I haven't tried that in a couple years, right? They could try retelling with a graphic organizer. They could do a think aloud model. And again, if they need more details, all they have to do is ask. I get that mission control data so I know when I can support my teachers and how I can best support them as well. Okay. And so I would love for you to join our School AI Champions. This is a way for you to engage with other ways that teachers and coaches are using School AI and AI to support their coaching cycles, but also within the classroom instruction as well. So I'd love for you to join. Again, check out this sheet. There's more coming. Oh, games for, I love it. How can I introduce content by using games? I love that idea, Brian. So that is awesome. So keep sharing those ideas, check out those spaces. And thank you all for joining me tonight. I had so much fun with you. If you have questions, please let me know. Oh, QR
Woohoo. There you go. That's amazing, Stephanie. Thank you so much. This was incredible. I've honestly not really been able to dive into School AI, so I really enjoyed that. I'm gonna share screens just quickly here. I know we're running out on time. We really like to cut it off at 7:45 Eastern, just because coaches don't have a lot of time and an hour feels really long. I'm going to drop some quick links in the chat for you. We do this every month. We meet on a Monday or Wednesday night around 7 o'clock Eastern, and we always have a different topic and host. So thanks again to Stephanie for being our host about School AI and coaching that clicks for today. Next time, we're meeting on Wednesday, November 19th, and we're talking about making digital materials accessible. And Nicole is going to be our host for that session. I dropped the link to that registration in the chat. We also have a survey link in the chat, so definitely check that out. We take feedback seriously. We want to know topics you want to hear about. And if you're interested in hosting, we have a few spots left available for this traditional school year. We go once a month through May. So thanks again, everybody. I'm going to hit end record. Feel free to hang out for a second if you want to have another question or chat. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.